I'm tired. I'm sure you're not exactly excited either. But this is section 3.4. And it's going to be a pretty quick section, so don't stress. These are problems 1 through 5 of the class exercises in section 3.4. I went ahead and wrote them on the board so they'd be there and I'd be able to point at stuff and talk about it. But did I mention I'm tired? I'm tired. The first one is written in pink, so I have to use the pink marker when I get up there. The directions specifically say to identify a mathematical model for each situation described. The model can be a geometric figure, a formula table, or an algebraic expression. If you write an equation for your model, the way you plan on doing the problem, because that's what we're really coming up with, is a plan to do the problem. They just want us to come up with the plan for problems 1 through 5. But when we get down to the practice exercises, which is where your homework's going to be for this section, they actually want you to go ahead and solve the plan that you come up with. So if I get a full plan, full equation from any of these, then I'm going to take the time to solve it out so that you can see how to do that. But for the first one, it says the number of books in a box which holds 64 books if the box is in books short of being filled. That's a lot of words. Just say it. It's a lot of words. So, hey, look, coming from the other side. I know you're excited, right? Okay. So the number of books in a box, so this is what we're looking for, what the number of books in a box is. So this is kind of be my X, which holds 64 books. So 64 is what the box usually holds. If the box is in books short of being filled, so that means that it's missing in books now. And that gives me my X. So that's my equation. Now there are a couple of ways that you could come up with to solve this, but realistically, because you have two variables, they're not going to ask you to solve it. You can't get one letter on one side by itself right now with two variables there. It's just not going to happen. So they're okay with that being our explanation, and that's all there is to it. Just writing something down, because there's no way I could solve that right yet. Problem number 2, purple. The area of a rectangular floor. Now they've already said two things that need to trigger some information for you. First they said area, and then they said rectangle. So I can tell that right away it's a geometry problem, and anytime you ever get a geometry problem, you should always draw a picture. I always draw a picture for geometry stuff. So I got my rectangle here, and they want me to talk about the area of the rectangle. So that means I need a width and a length. And you should know the formula for the area of a rectangle. Area equals length times width. So now we need to be able to use that in order to calculate the number of floor tiles needed to cover it. Since they didn't tell us anything about the floor tiles, like what size they are or what the sides are of our rectangle, then we don't really need to go any further. We've come up with a plan, but until they give us more information, we can't solve anything. We can't do anything else with it. But always make sure you draw a picture for geometry and make sure you know what the formulas are. That's a formula you should have memorized already. So that's problem number 2. Next we have problem number 3. It's in blue. The shortest distance from one point on a map to another point. Now, realistically, there would be a map there. They didn't give us a map. We're going to call that point A. We're going to call this point B. And while we could take this long trip around to get from one to the other, it's a geometric fact, hence the picture, that the shortest distance from A to B is a straight line. I don't really know what more they were wanting than that, because there's no way you could get an equation from the information that they gave you. So I've done all I know to do. I know it's silly, but there's no equation there, nothing for me to solve. Moving on to number 4. I told you it was going to be a short video. Just be happy. Black. This one we can do. The receipts from a sale of 95 tickets if each ticket costs $D. So we can take our number of tickets and multiply that by the cost, and that'll equal our total receipts. So we had 95 tickets. Our cost, they said, was $D for each ticket. So our total receipts should be 95D, because that's what I get when I multiply them together. Can't do much more than that. Can't tell what that is because they didn't tell us how much money came in from that. I gave the information that they told me. I simplified it as much as I could, and that's what I got. The last one, blue. The distance an automobile travels in a given time if the speed is 35 miles per hour. For this one, you need to know that distance equals speed times time. Another way to put it is, instead of using speed, you use rate. They mean the same thing. Rate is speed. So the distance an automobile travels is what we're looking for. So that's our D, is equal to, in a given time, we'll let time equal T. If the speed is 35, where do I put my 35? Well, that's my R. We talked about that. So I put 35T. So D has to equal 35T. Let's say they said in the problem that the distance was 15 miles. Let's make it bigger. Let's say, just to make my life simpler, let's say the distance was 70 miles. So up here, instead of me writing the D in place of distance, I would put the 70. So 70 has to equal 35T. Then I want to get the T by itself, so I divide both sides by 35 because they were already multiplied. And I get that 2 is equal to T. Not just 2, but 2 hours, because it was miles per hour. So it was 2 hours for a distance of 70 miles. Now, if you're still wondering where I got the 70 from, well, I made it up, put it in my head, because your homework is going to ask you to solve what you write down. So since your homework is going to ask you to do the solving, I wanted to go ahead and do one where I showed some solving. So, speaking of your homework, classwork this time? No classwork. Homework. Page, I didn't write it down. Killing me, Joyce. Killing me. 111. Practice exercises. Numbers 1. You look in the back of the book for that one. And 6. Can't look in the back of the book for number 6. I'm going to put it on the classwork so your mom will think there's classwork, but it's really not classwork, it's just homework. Okay. Love you. Bye.